Welcome to the Entrepreneurial CEO podcast, where we dive into the real stories behind building and scaling a business. Each episode, we sit down with CEOs, founders, and leaders to uncover hard-won lessons in leadership, systems, and team building. Listen in each week to learn directly from real business leaders who have been in your shoes, had success, made the mistakes, and all of the messiness that comes with building a business. If you're ready to learn from real-world leaders and gain insights you can apply today, you're in the right place. So let's get started. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Kelly, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So everybody, today's guest is Kelly Giard. He is the founder and CEO of Clean Air Lawn Care. It's a franchise that brought solar-powered, zero-emission equipment and organic treatments to lawn care nationwide. Kelly has been pushing this model since the mid-2000s. They turned sustainability thesis into scaling business. Love to learn more about it today. They started franchising in 2008 and now have 85 locations. They're on the path to be the Whole Foods of lawn care, which is awesome. Kelly, thanks so much for being here, man. I'm excited to learn more about Clean Air Lawn Care.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Before I go into all my questions, I always like to kick it back and just, is there anything else you want to tell us about the business or about yourself?
Yeah, so I definitely didn't plan this out. I ended up kind of stumbling into this business model. I mowed lawns when I was a kid in high school. Started off just as a hustle, so I didn't have to work at a burger joint or something like that. And using gas and chemical stuff back then, of course, and go to college and you have a white collar career, and then all of a sudden you messing around with this business model in your garage, and it takes over your life. So that's it's been a fun ride, and excited to see where it goes from here too.
So it is a cool story. I mean, I'm obviously a fan. You went to BU. I'm from the Boston area,
Yeah.
and then you ended up on Wall Street. And what convinced you that this you called the triple win model had legs, it was working, and that it was something you wanted to pour yourself into?
Yeah, that was a little risky. I was actually looking at starting a mutual fund or this, and it could have been more different.
Yeah.
Um, I like the feel of the business model. It's simplicity. I really like that, both in providing the service and just not having, it's nothing. Lawn care is something you can fix next week if there's a problem. It's very tangible too. It looks good and feels good when you leave the property. It's good, honest work, and I like that piece of it. I like the tangibility of it. In terms of knowing if it was going to succeed or not, I think the biggest risk was just taking on the franchise model, being a franchisor. I think it's a lot easier to understand how to be the franchisee, and to follow a model, but to kind of create that headquarters and go up that curve where you have to cover a lot of costs, overhead, before the royalty and all of that catches up with it. So that was the biggest thing I was most nervous about. And that did prove to be very challenging. It was very difficult.
What made you choose? Because you could have elected to just open up multiple locations and scale that way, but you chose the
Yeah.
franchise path. What made you choose that path versus the other?
Yeah. I really like for the customer and for the location level, the concept of the franchisee. It's the local ownership and just having somebody that cares so much there driving it and supporting their success. That was a big piece of the motivation to go that model. And it's just extremely scalable. And so,
Mm.
at some point you can really hit the gas, which is what we're trying to do now. And, you prove out the model, you get it really established, you get a bunch of successful franchisees, and then you can really go quickly and expand very quickly because the capital and the risk is shared with the franchisee. So,
Mhm.
um, it's we dabbled with owning remote locations too, and you can do it, and other companies do it that way. I think just in terms of our culture and structure that the local ownership is really one of the most successful things that we like to support, and it's just really cool to see a guy. We just had a guy in Atlanta. In his fourth year, he went to $1 million in revenue, and
It's awesome.
you know he was doing a sales job. He was doing this and that. Um, Unhappy selling software to attorneys and not spending time with his family, and now he's going to all his kids' soccer games, events,
Yeah.
lacrosse, all that stuff. Um, he's got, you know, he's making, multiple six figures. He's built up this business that he can sell. He can go on vacations. You just see somebody go through that process, and it's really fun and inspiring to support him.
It's rewarding. I imagine that's
Yeah,
very rewarding. Just like it's, we always talk to people about, one of the benefits of being a CEO and a founder is that it's rewarding to see your team succeed, right? They buy a new house, they
yeah,
get married, they have kids, whatever, and you're helping them do those things. But I imagine
yeah,
you have somebody who's one of your franchise, same thing,
yeah, yeah. It's incredible to watch, and um, people amaze you. There's a lot of disappointment with people too, but
Mhm.
it's we just find the success outweighs the setbacks, and that's why we've grown every year. We've grown every year since 2008, and I think it comes down to the quality of the people we have. So
Let's talk about that. So I mean, that's awesome that you're the growth rate and you're now at 85 territories. You're
mhm.
adding roughly two every month. You want to keep growing like that, continue scaling. One of the things that I think about, and I'm not in this business, but when you have all these franchises, is control a little bit tough where you have to ensure those standards. Maybe you need to have different systems in place. You talk about people, right? Like you get this person
Yeah,
there, but you're not there every day. So how do you maintain the right systems control to ensure that things are done properly because it has an impact on the brand?
yeah. We've really trusted our franchisees with a lot of independence, and that's worked for the most part. We've had a couple of bad situations, but
Yeah.
um, I think that you know we're kind of a black sheep in our industry because we do things differently, and so we attracted people that are pretty um, independent minded. They want to be part of a team, but they're pretty fiercely independent, and so that is a
Mm.
very big challenge. Because they have directions they want to run, and some of them are good, and sometimes we let them go, and then we all copy it. And so we don't want to
Okay.
kill that entrepreneurial spirit where we've kind of all shaped the model at some level. It's not like here's this here's the secret recipe and you guys have to follow it. It's more fluid, and it's always been that way, and it's helped us succeed, I think. So, but then okay, well, we can't have 25 different types of fertilizer being used at
Right.
85 different locations, right? We have our own product. We came up with it. We worked with all of our franchisees, scientists, other people. And so we all have to use it, you know, and if, if you don't like certain aspects of it, we have to figure out how, how you can like it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we can keep that consistency. If we're going to be the best organic lawn care company in the United States one day, then we all have to be using the same products and making those products better, not trying to use other stuff. And so that's an example of a challenge that we're going through right now is just kind of reinforcing that consistency so that we have a consistency to the customer, where
Hmm.
you can drive down the street and you can tell which property is a clean air property.
Hmm. So it sounds like you have a list of non-negotiables, things that where you don't bend, and there's other areas where you can bend and you're a little bit more flexible.
We're for a franchise, I think we're quite a bit more flexible.
Okay.
And yeah, like I said, that's benefited us. And the when you entrust that franchisee with some independence, they typically show pretty good discretion, and good judgment. And I think that just use your best judgment's been one of my themes, and I think that just instilling that in the culture of the company and letting our franchisees use their best judgment has been generally a good thing.
You mentioned that you guys are the black sheep. Is that just because you're environmentally conscious, or like why black sheep?
Yeah, it's not super negative. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but
Okay.
it's when we're coming in and we're doing electric instead of gas, and we're doing organics instead of chemicals, and so
Yeah.
um, the industry is pretty um, old school. You know, the people in it, lots of really good people. Um, there, but a lot of people kind of set in their ways. Some people are adopting our ways, and some states are even forcing them to, like California and Colorado are getting into stuff like that. But um, it's we feel like the way we do it is where everybody's going to end up at some point. Something similar to the way we do it, and so but that change has been pretty slow, and um, like in 2008, we were using Black and Decker equipment out of a Home Depot. There was no commercial equipment. We were
Mm.
making stuff work. We were, creating our own solar panel systems on our trucks and figuring out how to make stuff more powerful, how to use removable batteries, just basic stuff. We had to work with manufacturers through the years with. Um, now you go down to a Home Depot and there aren't many gas choices at a lot of places. Most of them are just all electric, a lot, particularly
So,
with the
yeah.
trimmers and blowers. So,
Yep. Yep.
um, seen a lot of change, and it's cool to see. And I think we're probably becoming more mainstream than I know, in terms of the way we do things, and less of the black sheep.
Hey, that's a good thing. That's a good
Yeah,
thing for all of us, I think. You
yeah, I
mentioned
think so.
you mentioned one challenge, but as you've scaled to 85 territories and you're looking to continue to grow, what are some of those challenges that have come up or that you're dealing with now? They're around, I don't know,
Yeah.
on this. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the big one we're looking at now is how to use this AI thing, and when to jump into that. There's obvious, theoretical ways to lower costs for both us and our franchise owners. Um, it's also, we don't want to screw something up or make it more complicated. Um, and so we're trying to negotiate through those waters to figure out the best way to approach it. And whether that's wait and see what similar business models do, how they use it, and kind of copy that, or to jump in and make some mistakes on our own, and just see if we can create some efficiencies, because there's obvious opportunity in our system being larger, that we should be able to translate some value to our franchise owners so that they can outcompete somebody that's not in a franchise system.
Mm, sure.
um, so that's something we're trying to wade through right now, and it's I have days where I want to run, and then days where I'm just like, whoa, I don't know about that. So
Now, are you primarily looking at internal usage, ways that you can just use it
yeah,
within the back office or administration or operations for efficiency?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Stuff like billing, inside sales. Those would be two obvious areas where
Hmm.
we could use AI to cut down on the amount of time our franchisees have to spend doing those things. And if
Yep.
we could figure it out at a nationwide level, then we could obviously have 85 people benefit from it instead of one. And so, that's where, you kind of go, okay, this is where the franchise system can really help you win, and either increase the owner's free time, or increase their cash flow by letting them, focus on other things to grow faster.
Right. And are you using AI at all today, or are you just in the exploratory mode?
We're just piloting a couple things. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we haven't rolled it out to our franchisees and said, hey, here it is. Here's what we're doing.
Okay. There's so many opportunities. That could be a whole other discussion for an hour. I mean, it's
Right.
pretty incredible, you know?
Yeah.
Um, we talked about this a little bit, but with your franchisees, it sounds like you give them a lot of independence. How
Hmm.
do you have a system for accountability? Like, how are you measuring or holding them accountable or, managing all those different 85 territories?
Hi, if you're a CEO out there who's struggling with focus for your company, aligning your team, accountability, if you're struggling with execution, connecting the dots from where you're at to where you want to be, we've got a great program for you here at MAP. My name is Michael Cato. I'm the CEO. Most importantly, I was a client for 15 years, sold my company to a public company, and then bought MAP so that we can help other entrepreneurs with this specific problem. We're a 60-year-old company. We've worked with 170,000 individual executives and CEOs. We've worked with 15,000 organizations. This is what we do. Click the link below to learn a little bit more about how people just like you, CEOs, have transformed their business and ultimately transformed their life by running through the MAP system.
Yeah, we have centralized billing and accounting, so we can see exactly what's going on at their location financially, and also just in terms of their CRM and their new customer growth and that sort of thing. Help them with profitability. Um, in terms of accountability, we just do spot checks remotely on certain things, and like this sort of platform we're speaking on, whether it's Teams, Zoom, or whatever it is,
Yeah,
that's been very beneficial for QC type stuff. Um, really cut down on the number of, well, it increased the number of basically site visits we can do just by doing it remotely, and we can track a lot of what's going on with their customer feedback too.
mm,
Um, that's an obvious area that shows up really quickly, where if you see a couple bad reviews, there's probably 20 unhappy customers, not two. So,
very true.
um, yeah, just using that sort of stuff is really what we focused on. And then rewarding excellence, where our system and our whole culture is based on, hey, our location in Louisville's got 45 reviews and has a 4.9 or whatever. And great work, and we should all try to understand what they're doing and copy some things that they're doing. And I think that it's easier with a franchise system than it is with employees. But because we're partnered basically in their location, and we have the same incentives for the most part. Um, But we have to do site visits and do some random stuff and just kick the tires sometimes too, to keep everybody honest, because it's just human nature to kind of you kind of drift in your own direction, and sometimes you need somebody to pull you back, and
Yeah,
it's beneficial.
yeah. Um, it sounds like the Louisville example, the 4.9, 40 reviews on Google, and then learning from their success. Do you have ongoing training or education or best practices
Yeah.
around those different departments like sales or customer success or operations, whatever they may be?
Yeah, we try to share best practices as much as possible.
Yeah.
And that can be we have a forum where everybody can communicate.
Mm,
An internal um, owner forum, we call it, with our franchisees. And that's the most common way that stuff is shared. And it can be, hey, we're going to have a call and you can attend if you want to. We'll record it, and then they can watch it in their own time, which a lot of people like to do these days.
mhm.
Um, and so we try to do a lot of stuff like that, where, if we see, hey, this service has really taken off, this compost top dressing service. And so in, say, St. Louis. And so, you know, Craig just generated 100,000 in revenue just off this a month off this one service. And so here's a breakdown of what he did. And here's Craig talking too. Here he's talking about actually doing it.
That's cool.
Um, that's what they really want to hear. Is they don't want to hear from me or from somebody at the HQ. They want to hear the guy that made it successful, and
Yeah.
how he did it. You know.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. I think if customers are kind of the same way too, right? Like They don't want to hear me saying how awesome the business is. They
Yeah.
want to hear from my other customers, right? That's why
Yeah.
testimonials are so powerful, because they're not going to listen to me. They want to hear from somebody else who went through it, you know?
That's right. Yeah. It's everything. And, yeah, it's kind of spooky when you're the owner, but if once you get the volume of testimonials, on the, platform like Google Review, it's really, it's fun and exciting to see, that, hey, you've got this maybe nationwide. I think we're at a 4.8 for a lawn care company. That's hard to do. And, I'd say, stack us up against anybody's Google reviews, and nothing says that the way we do things, even though they're different, works better than, there's no better testimonial than 2,000 people saying 4.8, so,
Yeah.
it's that gives me confidence in the business model, to grow and to scale up and to open more locations.
Okay. That's a good segue. So you talked about setting a pretty big goal, going from 85 to somewhere to 250 locations, or, continuing to grow significantly. What do you see as the big either levers or roadblocks between where you are now and where you'd like to be?
It's finding those people that, the guy that I mentioned is Seth in Atlanta. He went from 0 to 1 million in 4 years. How do I find more success? It's kind of a needle in a haystack, and it's a lot of work. A lot of different marketing channels, a lot of different messaging, um, because you can't just, do a Google search and all the sets pop up. You gotta go out and find them one at a time. And that's really the hardest part for
Mm.
us, is how do we find more of those people, onboarding them and making them successful, and supporting them is something we understand how to do very well.
Mm.
Um, but finding them is the biggest challenge.
What is so special about that individual? What are the attributes of that person that you're looking for?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what we've been doing, is building profiles of our
Mhm.
successful owners, because there's recurring themes. And then we kind of model that out to, digital campaigns or stuff like that. I don't know how to describe all the ins and outs of it, but,
Yeah.
um, that's the idea, is what are those attributes, and then how do we go find people with those attributes? And so, it's a combination. I call it the dance between humility and confidence, and that's really what every business owner has to have. You have to have
Mhm.
both of those to be successful ultimately. Um, you have to, when you're wrong, or you stink at something, you have to have the humility to recognize it, but then you have to have the confidence to correct it and to get better at it. And so that's the intangible we're looking for, is somebody that you just know they have that that steel, they have that confidence, but also, they don't need to be self-deprecating, but they have just a humility to them. And, we find people like that, particularly in our business model, because, we're doing lawn care. We're not doing something fancy. And, you got to have humility to do it. And, and then you got to combine it with these other, kind of main qualities like sales. How do
Yeah.
you like people? Can you talk to people?
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
because you can't just bury your head in the lawn and just push them over or something like that. Your business won't go anywhere. And so
Yeah.
our best owners are really, we call them green collar. They have all those white collar characteristics, but then they have the humility to go out and sweat once in a while too.
Mhm. Have you noticed, I mean, you've been in this business for a long time. Um, it seems to me that it's a newer trend, but maybe you've seen this coming for longer, that there's more private equity getting in the space,
Yeah.
more just it's changed, where there's a lot of more people, I think, attracted to whether it's lawn care, I mean, HVAC, plumbing, all these trades and home service industries. It feels like there's a lot more money pouring into it, and which is leading into consolidation, scale, all sorts of things. Have you
Mhm.
seen that recent? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we've looked at it. We've been approached by a number of private equity platforms and companies. And there's some interest there. If it made sense for our franchisees and for everyone, then it would be something we'd explore. I
Yeah.
think we're one of the few lawn care franchises that is not involved with private equity. One of the few
Mm.
left. And so, it's been something that I've enjoyed. The run here on our own with our independence. Obviously, when you involve private equity, the clock starts ticking on
Mm.
that investment return, and
Yep.
because that's what drives them. And so that can be good, that can be bad. I think that it's probably something we'll do at some point,
Yeah.
but just haven't come across a situation that made sense for us.
Hey man, if you have, in my personal opinion, and you didn't ask for it, if you have a great business and you build it yourself and you're in full control, that is so valuable. Once you take
Yeah.
somebody else's money, then you just lose that control. My business partner and I used to talk about it all the time. And then I was part of a business that had some VC money, and man, such
Mhm.
a different experience than when we bootstrapped our own businesses. Like we were in
Right.
full control, and you just make whatever decision you want that you feel is right for the business when you feel it's right for the business,
Yeah.
instead of having to answer to somebody else. It's just a different ballgame, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think once you involve private equity, you have to be able to say, okay, I'm kind of along for the ride now. So,
Yeah.
um, that's we haven't reached that point. I think we've gone through the hard part. Um, we've created a successful system now. We have all these successful owners that are doing well, and I feel like this next stage where we ramp up to 200 territories, 100 to 2 million in million a year in revenue is going to be a lot of fun, and I feel like we can do it
Yeah.
without their help for the most part.
That's awesome. Seems like you're in a great spot. One of the things what we see with MAP is that, we often work with people in home service businesses. It could be HVAC or plumbing. And have somebody who's like a skilled technician, and they start a business, and it just sort of like grows beyond what they originally thought was possible, which is awesome. But they don't really have that traditional business experience, and so they come to us, and we help them with the management experience or training and
Mhm.
leadership, and tell them how to become a better CEO. Do you see that with some of the people who are running your franchises, where they don't have that traditional experience or have never been a CEO before, and you have to help them along the way with training them and showing them how to run the business? Or is that not come up?
No, that's come up, and we probably should do that better. We spend time. We have a group of franchisees that are our highest level, um, and we have we get them together once a year on their own,
Mm.
and so that they can talk to each other about exactly what you're describing. But we could do it a lot more. I feel like they're CEOs themselves, and if they don't think that way, they'll never get to where they could. Um, so I think from day one, we're pretty good at trying to find people that think that way, but I think that we could improve quite a bit in terms of just feeding them that fuel, that constant flow of new ideas, information, positivity that they need to run their business. Because it can be lonely, it can be kind of a drudgery. There's different things.
Absolutely.
um, you start getting into having 1,000 customers and stuff, there's a lot of stuff going on that can pull you away from what you should be thinking about and what you should be focused on. And I think that's definitely a challenge. It's like you described it. They just wake up one day and they go, well, I mean, this happened to Seth the other, 3 months ago. He woke up one day and he's just like, I don't have time to do all this. I need help. You know?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Well, when you look at the business where you are today, if you could wave a wand and change one thing or optimize one part of the business, what do you think that would be?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think, would I do? I think I would try if I had a way to find franchise owners more efficiently. That's what I would do, because we spend so much time and resources just to find even one. The inefficiency of that process is really what I would wave a wand at. That would be that would just speed up everything completely. Because, like I said, once we get that person, we know how to support them and help them, you know, be successful.
Yeah.
But it's the finding them that's difficult right now. So
Okay. Do you handle that all internally today as an internal function, or do you work with third parties for that?
we've tried both. Right now,
Yeah.
we're just doing it internally, and that's working pretty well.
Mm.
Um, but it ebbs and flows for sure.
Yeah. Well, I imagine if you're looking for somebody so specific in particular, I imagine it's tough.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of competing franchises too, right? So I imagine there's a lot
Yeah.
of competition in that space.
Well, so you were talking about private equity, and so that's exactly what we're running up against is,
Mm.
the private equities come in and bought all these franchises. Well, what do they want to do? They want to grow new locations, right? And so let's say there's 10,000 people that are going to open a franchise in the United States this year. The amount of marketing going to those 10,000 people and the competition for their ear and their eyes is just changed completely from 5 years ago. And
That's
so,
interesting.
yeah, it's very difficult for us as with not being back and, by, I don't know, there's $10 million sitting in the bank just ready to go toward marketing. We're running up against people that have that, and
Yep.
it's difficult to compete with it.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, if I did an analysis on my LinkedIn inbox, like the past couple of years, it's definitely skyrocketed with the amount of people reaching out with a franchise opportunity. There's so many. I get so many of those messages every day. For real, happens all the time. So I imagine
Well, maybe
those
we
are the
should talk
same
about that another time, Andrew.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, it's probably the same thing, right? It's the VC-backed companies just pumping out the messages, I imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
It's completely changed in the last 5 years. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, Kelly, really appreciate you hopping on and spending the time with us. I think this has been great. You guys have an amazing business, and congratulations, because
Yeah.
first of all, most people
Thank
don't
you.
get this far. So it's amazing what you built, and hope you guys hit your goal, and I wish you the most success.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Before we end, where can folks go to learn more about Clean Air Lawn Care?
Yeah. It's just cleanairlawncare.com. That's our website. And if you're interested in the franchising, then you can just click over to a separate site from there. So it's pretty straightforward. Yeah. And if you need some lawn care, it'll show you the different locations we have and we service right now.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you again. We really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for listening. We will see you next time.